Last weekend was the big highlight of the 2022 season for the Honda British Talent Cup. Johnny Garnett, number 57, the championship leader, shooting ahead of the pole sitter Rhys Stevenson on the run to Cops Corner. Having already won the first race, Garnett would dominate the second one as well. But some real breakthrough rides this season, with Rhys Stevenson second in both of the races in front of all of the MotoGP team bosses and riders. And Harley McCabe, number 79, as you can see, was right up there with them as well for 2 third places. Rhys Stevenson, though, here, number 23 on the Rocket Racing machine. He said he's changed his training regime, he's changed his diet, he's changed his racecraft, and learned so much with these guys at the front. Sullivan Mounds in number 4, fighting for 4th place here with Carter Brown and Harrison Desoy, but Sullivan would end up hitting the deck at Vale Corner. Sadly retired from this second race on the full Grand Prix circuit in Northamptonshire. Problems further back though for Keanu Vaya, number 53, a technical problem, and I can tell you his problems have continued this weekend as well. We'll talk about that in a moment. But back with Garnett in the lead, it was Stevenson drafting ahead of Harley McCabe for second place. So a repeat podium in the 2 races. Garnett coming through though for an incredible 8th victory from 12 races so far, meaning he could actually win the 2022 title at Thruxton this weekend after a dominant performance at the Grand Prix. So it's welcome back to the Honda British Talent Cup and welcome back to Thruxton for race 13 of 18 in the 2022 title chase. And it's a title which could be won here on Sunday by Johnny Garnett. But in the meantime, some stunning performances last time out at Silverstone, the Grand Prix support meeting. Rhys Stevenson was right up there with an improved fitness regime and diet to be on the podium in both races. Watch out though for Evan Belford, who's made some changes to the bike and actually changed his fairing at the last minute. I was chatting with him earlier on today. Johnny Garnett though with the shark teeth helmet, here he is. Dominant performance so far this weekend, and so far this season for that matter. He's 84 points ahead of Carter Brown in second place. If he leaves here with a lead of 100 points or more, he is the champion. So that could happen here tomorrow. And to do that, he needs to be 75 points ahead by the end of the upcoming race. Taylor McKenzie and Greg Haynes are with you. Taylor, he needs to be 75 ahead by the end of the day. He's already 84 ahead, so I think it's looking pretty good for Garnett to win the title here tomorrow.
Yeah, at that point of the championship, you think you'd start backing off and just playing it a little bit safe, but I know that is definitely not Johnny's plan at this stage in the championship. He's rode amazingly well and just going from strength to strength. The last few rounds on his Vision Track bike, he's really just upping his class every race meeting, and I've been very impressed with him. So I think today will be no different. He was absolutely flying in qualifying. I know they made a few little changes to the bike and improved another second in qualifying. So I think he's going to be very tough to beat today. It's a big fast track. We know that Johnny's light and small, and if he can manage to break away at the front, he's going to be very difficult to get on the back of.
Super hot here at Thruxton as well, with droughts all across the UK at the moment, hosepipe bans and all the rest of it. Pretty incredible. But Garnett, as you can see, 84 points ahead of Carter Brown. Really close there in the battle for third, but bad news, I'm afraid, for Keanu Vaya, number 53. Had a crash here in qualifying. He had a big tank slapper coming out of the complex, Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave, and he's broken one of his feet in 2 places. So sadly, Keanu, the Dutch rider, is out of action for the next month, and that's bad news for his top 3 position in the championship. Best wishes to him, but I guess with these temperatures it's going to be quite easy to get caught out this weekend. Here's the results of qualifying earlier on today, and it is quite incredible. Garnett, Belford, Stevenson across the front row of the grid. Then it's Carter Brown with Emmanuel Brinton back in action. Remember how well he was going at Brands Hatch on his debut. Crashed out a second in both races on the penultimate lap. Let's see whether he can get a finish in this time. But Taylor, we were chatting with Alex Baldolini, who of course is the Dorna representative working with MSV here in the paddock as the rider coach. Last year's pole position will put you 16th on the grid this year. It is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying before, the last few races, they've all the riders at the front have really upped their level, and especially Johnny, as they've been riding more in Europe, it's brought them on leaps and bounds. I think it's important these riders do get over to Europe because it's a slightly different way of riding, and when they come back and apply that to the UK tracks, they carry a lot more corner speed, and it pays off. So I'm interested to see if anyone can go with Johnny in this race. It's not going to be easy hanging on, but we'll see how they go.
Here we go then, watch for the lights, top left of the screen. When the red lights go out, the race will begin, and we are away in the Honda Talent Cup here at Thruxton in Hampshire. Garness is away well. Belford side by side with Stevenson for second place as we come round the right-hander at Allard and up to the complex Campbell, Cobb and Seagrave for the first time. Let's see whether Garness can hold the advantage. Remember, he could be in a tighter winning situation after race 2 on Sunday. There's Stevenson through and contact behind at least 2 of the Microdisc bikes, and Ollie Walker look like they've been caught up there. Number 40 is Correa, the rider from Florida, across the grass, and that is not the first time this season we've seen contact between Microdisc bikes. Harrison Desoy, 55, was the rider on the ground, and he was also taken out by his teammate, if you remember, Rousbrook at Brands Hatch last time out. So a disastrous start there for Harrison Desoy.
Yeah, they have they've been so fast, that team, but also not had much luck at all. And Via obviously crashing earlier and breaking his foot, and then this on the first lap is not what you need. These races are long races, and they need to just get through the first few laps. Because the important part of this race is going to be looking after your tyre, and it's going to come down to the slipstream at the end.
Three Church caught him for the first time, blisteringly quick through there, and let's see what Rhys Stevenson can do about Johnny Garness. It's the first of the 14 laps we're about to complete. Look at Emmanuel Brinton right in the mix as well, and round the outside goes Carter Brown. He's taken Belford as well, Taylor. So Carter Brown, who won here last year in the single race, is up into third. That was a wonderful move right round the outside.
Yeah, we've seen him in all these races so far. He's been so strong on the brakes, and this track's really going to be in 2 different parts. The first part's really fast and flowing, and they're going to have to try and hang with Johnny in those parts, and then it's going to come to the last section where normally in previous races we've seen the bigger riders be stronger on the brakes. So it's going to be an important sector for Carter. That he's going to really have to dig deep here to get on the back of Rhys Stevenson. The problem you have when you do get to the front like this is you then don't have a slipstream, so all through here they're going to be losing time all through this section.
Now here's a replay of what happened just a few seconds ago. Look on the left-hand side of your screen, and there you are. There's the contact between the 2 Microdisc riders. It was actually Desoy running into the back of Correa, and there is the other rider coming through. I said Ollie Walker before, did he manage to get through? But there's Garness leading with Stevenson second. And look at Carter Brown back in front now. Brinton there on the left-hand side with the blue flashes, fighting away with Evan Belford. But it looked like this time, Ted, it was Desoy who ran into the back of his teammate and not the other way around.
Yeah, just is really easy on the first lap. You go in there with a full fuel tank. The bikes are a little bit heavier than we used to. And sometimes when you go up the inside, all of a sudden it really tightens up on that first right. And you have nowhere to go, and just as it all comes back, there's more and more riders all piling in, and yeah, easily to get caught out there.
There's the 84 of Rousbrook with Harrison Crosby on the yellow bike just behind him. Remember, Crosby went off into this barrier at the top of the screen last year, and it was a pretty nasty accident on the very last lap of the race. But Rhys Stevenson is absolutely inspired. Number 23 on the Rocket Racing bike. This is incredible. The 16-year-old from Skegness. He was on the podium twice with 2 second places to Garness at the Grand Prix support meeting last weekend. Down through the complex here at Thruxton, Campbell, Cobb, and now the right-hander at Seagrave, where Keanu Via crashed and broke his foot in 2 places earlier on today. But look at Stevenson, he's looking behind him. Not really advisable, is it?
No, especially in this faster sector. He needs to be doing everything he can to get on the back of Johnny. If he is looking behind, it's either because he's really confident he can stay there, or because he's just looking to see if anyone else is coming with them. In the race at Silverstone, Johnny actually broke away at the front, and then Stevenson was able to get on the back of him during the race. So he knows he's got pace, and he'll be thinking about just sitting in there for now, and when it comes to the latter stages of the race, making a pass at the last chicane.
Well, they're a really nice family-run team, the Rocket Racing team. Look how he's in the slipstream now, and they're actually supported by the Elliott Project, which is a charity helping mental health, and they provide first aid classes, free first aid classes in support of mental health. And now he's taking the lead. Can you believe it? At the end of the third lap, Rhys Stevenson, we said before, he's changed his diet, he's changed his training routine, he bounces across the curb and nearly loses it, but he's in the lead of this race.
Yeah, you see the difference in their lines there. Johnny has a really wide sweeping line when he goes in, which is great when you're at the front or you're doing a qualifying lap, but it kind of leaves you open to that pass in the middle of the race, and that's what happened there. Unfortunately for Rhys, he got in a little bit hot. He looked like he just lost the front a little bit into the first part of the chicane, carried too much speed in, went over the rumble strip, and that allowed Johnny to get the drive on him.
Look at him go. This is brilliant, isn't it? He's 5th place in the championship at the moment. We've had 12 races so far, and we've had 5 different winners, 12 on the podium so far from 12 races. And Stevenson absolutely desperate to win for the first time. He had his 2nd place, if you remember, in race 2 at Alton Park. Then his 2 seconds at Silverstone last weekend, and it just seems like once you got the confidence, I guess you must have been in this situation before, you feel like you deserve to be at the front, and what a difference it's making.
Yeah, definitely. I was just looking at his times there. He's actually found 0.9 of a second on his fastest lap from qualifying to the race, and because in qualifying Johnny was nearly a second, well, over a second, he's 1.3 faster, but he obviously had something up his sleeve the lap before when he was looking behind. It's obviously because he's confident that he can stay there, so yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, Johnny was a bit embarrassed, wasn't he, with his dad yesterday in practice, because he said he went out looking for imaginary lap times all through practice, and his dad, Tom, put "calm down" in massive yellow writing on his pit board. I think Johnny was a bit embarrassed because everyone else saw that. Now, here we go. Watch Stevenson, number 23, on the left-hand side. He's gone through to take the lead, and he's going to just clip the curb now. Look, he's a bit wide, that's why. Clips the curb, and the rear nearly gets away from him, and that's why Garnes punished him for that and retook the lead down into Allard. Is that as dramatic as it looks?
Yeah, the thing with these curbs is they actually ramp up towards the edge. So right at the edge of the track where you're riding, they're very smooth, but then the further on the curb you go, the bigger the jump. So as he went across the chicane, he cut more and more of the chicane, and then it hit the bigger part, which is what upset the bike. That won't feel too bad on the bike, but probably looked a little bit worse than it was.
So the championship lead, by my reckoning, would be up to 93 if it stayed like this, and that would mean Garnes would only need 7 points to win the title here on Sunday. That's if Carter Brown is third in this one, with Garnes winning the race. But here's Harrison Crosby, number 15 there in fourth place. Brinton right behind him. We said before, Brinton made his debut. The rider who we believe, by the way, is not from Suffolk after all. He's actually from Brighton, which of course is nowhere near Suffolk. So we apparently hear he's from Brighton, number 32. He was at Brands Hatch a few weeks ago, running second in both of the races, and crashed on the penultimate lap through unforced errors both times. Let's see what he can do this time. Rousebook, who's really improved over the last few rounds, number 84 there, the third of these bikes, in sixth place. And Evan Belford struggling a little bit there down in seventh. Mounsey is still eighth from Lucas Brown, and then it is McKay 10th. Hitchcock, Edmonds, who had a big improvement at Silverstone, Bannister, Rowan and Ollie Walker completing the top 15, but we know Ollie Walker was forced across the grass in that first lap incident. Down to the complex again. Let's see if Belford can shape up and have a pass on Rousebrook. He's trying to get a wider sweeping line down through the complex. It must be so key here, Taylor, to get a good line through the complex, because it can pretty much wreck the rest of the lap, can it not?
Yeah, a lot of these corners lead into the next one, so the chicanes, it's important to sort of not rush into the first part, let yourself set the second part of the chicane up, and then really carry your drive on the way out. The thing with the little bikes is you can actually use more of the track than you could on a superbike. So if you watch the superbike race, you'll see them really, as they exit the chicane, each of the corners, they're only using a third of the track maybe. On the smaller bikes, you can use more of the track, and the reason they do that is to carry more corner speed through, and then as they get to the next one, they're carrying even more corner speed. And because they're so lightweight, they can get away with flicking it back from side to side.
Oh, and look at Brinton round Church. This is brilliant. He's great to watch, isn't he, Brinton? He's always a bit on the edge. You never quite know what's going to happen next, but he's a hard charger, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, in Brands Hatch, he looked incredibly smooth. He was riding really well, taking time back out of Johnny, and then really just an unforced error in both races caused him to crash, which was strange. He didn't look like he was going to crash at any point, but I find it a little bit tougher at Thruxton. It's a difficult track to come to and be fast straight away, so I'm sure as these races goes on, he'll find his feet.
Belford, number 52 there, the last red bike at the back of the train. He was third in the championship last year with 3 wins. He was third to O'Gorman and Carter Brown. Garnes, if you remember, was 5th in the championship last year, but this is lap 7 of 14. Half race distance at the end of this one. It's still Garnes leading Stevenson at the front. Now, what is Crosby going to do? He's going to have to fight a rearguard action here. It's allowing Carter Brown, you can see him up the road there as he tips it into the rapid left-hander of Noble. Now they're into Goodwood. This is all the second sector of the lap. There's Crosby on the yellow bike. What's Brinton going to do? We know he carries tremendous straight line speed around this part of the track. There's the championship situation then, if it stays like this, with Garnes winning and Carter Brown third, 93, and Garnes would need just 7 points by my reckoning to wrap up the title here, the 2022 title in race 2 on Sunday. Crosby, Brinton, Rousebrook, then right behind them is Belford. Here comes Emmanuel Brinton again. Brinton on the left. Let's see if Rousebrook can take advantage of this as well. But Crosby seems to have good straight line speed. I don't know whether that's just the gearing, Taylor, as they come down towards the chicane. And Rousebrook is going to do 2 for the price of 1 straight through.
That was a great pass. Did really well to get that stop there. It's difficult passing into the chicane because as you first line the pass up, it's really upright and you can brake quite hard, but then it quickly tightens up and you've got to turn and keep braking. So really good pass to pass two people in one corner, not easy doing that. The straights on these feel like they go on forever, so they've have a long straight, and then as they get into sort of 5th, 6th gear it starts going uphill, and that's why they can carry more momentum up that when they're in the slipstream and pull out and pass.
Great camera angle here as well as we look at cross from Campbell and Cobb to Seagrave. This is lap 8 of 14 here at Thruxton. Tremendous fighting going on here just a few seconds ago. If you're just joining us, Rousbrook got through. He passed Brinton and Crosby on the run to the club chicane, and he has moved now, the Dutch rider based in Spain, in Valencia, up into 4th position. Carter Brown, in the meantime, with a new engine on board this weekend after a lot of problems recently, has disappeared off up the road in 3rd. Look at Crosby having a look on the inside of Church. Garness is leading, Stevenson is 2nd, Carter Brown is 3rd, and it's still Stevenson with the fastest lap, by the way, which would put him on pole position for race 2 here on Sunday. But let's see, again, for the 2nd lap in a row, we see a big straight line speed advantage there, and it's obviously the exit Crosby's getting from Church. Belford goes up the inside of Brinton, there's almost contact there, and Rousbrook, somehow Taylor Mackenzie is just about keeping them all at bay.
Yeah, he's getting better and better each week. At the start of the season, I know Scott Ogden, who races in my Vision Track team, has been helping him, and he's coming on leaps and bounds. He's really proven to be a hard charger. He's passing into that last chicane has been really good to watch.
And all the Talent Cup riders had a big part to play, didn't they, at Silverstone last week? They were asking questions to the MotoGP riders in the press conference, and they were out there looking at the track and watching, and they gained quite a lot of attention, I think, from the media.
Yeah, it's great to see. It's good that they're given this opportunity. All the bikes are pretty even in this class, and it's good because the best riders get to the front. It's a really good learning curve for them all because they're all on equal machinery. There's no huge differences in people's bikes, so it's great to see, and it's a good stepping stone before the European Talent Cup, Junior World Championship, and then Moto 3.
And it's just Thruxton, the 300 layout at Snetterton, and the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit left in the Talent Cup this season. And already Garness has won as many races as Casey O'Gorman won, 8 of them last year, but obviously Casey did miss 5 races after that bad crash at Knock Hill. But even so, it's been an incredible start to the season for Garness as Brinton again comes up alongside Crosby. Let's see what the slipstream advantage can do. Belford's watching them all at the back of the group there. Rousbrook's on the inside. He's already passed both of these two in this part of the track 2 or 3 laps ago. He's taken 1 this time, slots in between the 2 of them. Crosby needing a strong result because at the moment he's down in 6th place in the championship. He's been on the podium already. Here then comes Evan Belford having a look at Allard. It's a really long corner, actually, really long radius corner, this one, much longer than it looks on the TV when you go down there. Never-ending right-hander with the big VIP tower, good viewing points, but this really is anyone's 4th place, isn't it? 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, and they've been locked together for pretty much the whole race so far. At the front in the meantime, Garness has extended the advantage now, as you can see, to 2.3 seconds. He's got this under control, hasn't he?
I've also noticed that Carter's catching Stevenson as well, whether he's got any problems. The last lap he was nearly a second faster, and that gap's come all the way down to 0.6, so it'll be a close fight. There's only 5 laps to go. I'm sure if it carries on like that, he's going to be on the back of him very shortly.
Well, that's important for the championship, because if he can gain another 4 points, it would be 89 to Garness instead of the 93 it stands to be at the moment. But here we go down through Church, the fastest corner in British motor racing. Look at them all locked together, 1, 2, 3, and just as you predict, Taylor, here's Carter Brown. He's slipstreamed his way straight past Stevenson, so he's reeled him over the last few laps. Stevenson, I don't know whether it's the tyre going off or it's just race setup for Carter Brown. We know he has a new engine on board, which his dad's brought in after a few problems recently, but you just wonder whether Stevenson's struggling in these temperatures with the tyre. There's Belford, look at that. He's got through to the front of the pack, and Brinton's pushed to the back of the pack.
Yeah, I did notice on that last lap, Crosby got to the front of this group, and through this first complex where it goes right, left, right, on the right, he had a huge high side, did really well to stay on the bike. He ran all the way to the edge of the track, lost a bit of speed, and they closed the gap behind. So this is going to be a really good fight coming into the last few laps of these two. Brinton, did you see it backing in? And then it looked like he lost the front. He did really well to stop on that.
Now, and Belford has a big moment coming out of Cobb, and he's lost 1, he's going to lose 2, they're almost going to be on the grass. Look at Crosby, right towards the edge of the white line on this. Well, that was a great save by Belford.
I think it's fair to say that the hotter temperatures are having an effect on these tyres, because I've never seen so many moments in a Moto3 British Talent Cup race.
Let's have another look, just talk us through it, Taylor. They're in the middle of the complex, he's applying the power. Watch the first bike.
Yeah, just as he gets on the throttle, you've still got a lot of lean angle, but then you get keen to get on the gas because you can see the next corner coming up. Really easy to do on a super bike, not so easy to do on a British Talent Cup bike, so did really well to get that spinning and stay on it.
Yeah, we saw a bit of that at Most in the Czech Republic with Supersport 300 a couple of weeks ago in the damp conditions, but you don't often see that in the dryness. It's as hot as this, but it is the most abrasive track in the country, the fastest track in the country, and definitely the hottest in the country at the moment as well. Which way do you go? Rousebrook on the left. Then it's Belford who's had that good save. Brinton's back in front of Crosby, and Crosby here on the Banks Racing Machine, number 15, has headed up this pack for most of the race so far, and he's going to be really frustrated if he ends up down in 7th place at the checkered flag.
It's not easy to pick a winner out of these. They've all been strengths in different parts of the track, and now there's a few moments coming in with tyres going off, so it's going to be a real dogfight at the last corner. The key thing on the last lap is setting up the last chicane from Church, so you almost don't want to be leading coming onto the back straight, because if you're leading, you're likely to get past in the slipstream. If you are leading, you have to do everything you can to get through Church as fast as you possibly can.
Now they're losing 1.5 seconds to Carter Brown, who, like you say, is the fastest bike on the track at the moment. Crosby back in front. Harley McCabe in the meantime has just pulled into the pits. So number 79, the rider from Halifax, who had a fantastic double podium at the Grand Prix support meeting last weekend, is out of this race. But he is suffering, isn't he, Harley, with his knee? They're putting a lot of ice packs on it. He's still in a lot of pain.
Yeah, if anyone saw his crash at Brands Hatch, it was one of the biggest crashes I've ever seen, and he was very lucky to come away with relatively small injuries. But I was at Silverstone for the Grand Prix, and I saw him in pit lane. He was still struggling with his body there, and I think by the looks of it, it's kind of ligaments or tendons or something, the way he's got pain with it, whether they're just a bit stretched or bruised. And yeah, he's still struggling with it now, but he did really well at the last round to get 2 podiums, and unfortunately he's pulled out this race.
Ian Jordan Pritchard from the team was telling me it wasn't even his fault either. He said that a guy fell off his pit bike in front of him and Harley had nowhere to go. It was quite a big bang, and it obviously wasn't helped by that massive crash he had on the opening lap of the British Talent Cup race at Brands Hatch last time out, when he headbutted that barrier in that huge incident down the hill to Graham Hill Bend. But we're into the penultimate lap now of this motorcycle race. Johnny Garnett and Carter Brown, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, he's been caught by him 6/10 quicker last time round, and the gap is 1.5. Now, can you imagine what a comeback it would be if Brown could catch him? Brown's lap time was a 22.3. Garnett did a 22.9. Now, surely it's just Johnny Garnett controlling the pace, but we'll keep a very, very close eye on that over in the closing stages. In the meantime, who is going to get this 4th place? Belford, number 52. There's Brinton. He's got to get a finish in this time. He failed to finish both races at Brands Hatch. He cannot afford to throw this thing at the scenery again. There's Rousebrook, 84, around the outside, the Valencia-based Dutch rider. Crosby is dropping back a bit now as well, and we'll keep an eye on that gap at the front too as they come through Church Corner here. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. Brinton with the green flashes. There's Rousebrook. He's got the Union Jack on the top of his helmet, even though he's from the Netherlands himself. And now Crosby's in the tow on the yellow bike. We've seen all this before. 4 abreast, and he goes from the back of the train to the front of it in one fell swoop. Not for long.
It's hard to know where to watch. That was quite interesting, because Belford was leading coming onto the straight there. He managed to hold them off for quite a while, but then all of a sudden Crosby's bike seemed like it had 15 mile an hour more than everyone. Brinton was then didn't look that strong on the brakes, but then let off the brakes and managed to. Carter's just ran off the track, and he's back on. I think he ran really wide there. He lost a little bit of time to Johnny.
Well spotted. That's a shame, because he was catching him again there. It was a 22.7 versus a 22.3. The gap was down to 1.1 seconds, and perhaps he just got a little bit too enthusiastic there. So well spotted, Taylor. Carter Brown making a mistake then at the start of this 14th and final lap, and there's nothing he's going to be able to do now about Johnny Garnett, because the rider who turned 14 just before Silverstone is on target for what will be his 9th win from 13 races so far this season. Now, with Stevenson in 3rd place and very safe, what on earth is going to happen here in the 4-way fight for 4th? I would not want to put money on this. I just hope they all get through that club chicane cleanly at the end of the lap.
The one thing is Crosby's a little bit further off them here. If he can get a run through, he's going to get an awesome slipstream off 3 bikes. He's a little bit too far maybe. Brinton was strong on the brakes before, and this is going to be here comes Crosby.
Yeah. Crosby, number 15, on the banks, racing by the yellow bike. He was at the back of the train. Can he do what he did last time? Garnett across the line for another dominant victory. One hand on the title for Johnny Garnett, and Crosby's done it. Brinton's around the outside. They nearly make contact. He's going to lose momentum now, coming out of the chicane, and they're going to come up alongside him. They're almost touching as they come where the bridge used to be, and it looks like Rousebrook's actually got through. He has. Rousebrook grabs 4th place from Crosby, Brinton and Evan Belford. Well played there for Matthew Rousebrook, but even better by Johnny Garnett, the 14-year-old from Ilfracombe in Devon, comes through. He's now won 9 of the 13 races so far, and the Championship lead goes up to 89 points. He's in a very strong position to wrap up the title here, potentially, depending on what happens to Carter Brown in race 2 on Sunday. And he has just controlled this weekend, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's just going from strength to strength each weekend. As he's been going faster, he's been getting more and more confident too, and it makes it more and more difficult for everyone else to get close to him. Carter was really putting the pressure on him towards the latter stages of that race, and a bit of a shame he was a little bit further down at the start. But Johnny did have a gap. I'm sure he was just controlling it. He knew what he was doing and got the job done.
And there's Reece Stevenson. What about Reece Stevenson on the racing machine? He's got the lap record as well there on a 21.9, so that's pole position for tomorrow and his 3rd successive podium. Brilliant ride. Well, brilliant stuff from Reece Stevenson. And he said he was really honest, wasn't he, Taylor, in the interviews he was doing at the Grand Prix last weekend. He said, I've changed my diet, I've changed my training, I've changed the way I'm racing. And he said he was watching trackside the Moto3 World Championship riders. But it's clearly worked. That's his 3rd podium on the bounce now.
Yeah, he's as the year's gone on, he's got better and better. Saw him flashes of brilliance earlier in the year at Donington Park. He was really strong on the brakes and carrying corner speed, and he's been getting faster and faster. And but yeah, it's just difficult for them. Johnny's just made another step forwards and making it very tough for everyone.
Well, what a dominant ride that was for Garnett. It makes you wonder what will happen when he gets a bit older and he's taller and heavier. Is that going to be quite difficult? Is he just going to be able to adapt? Because he's going to have to change his racecraft a bit, isn't he, when he's heavier and hasn't got that advantage on the straights?
Yeah, it's. I mean, he is 14 now, and his dad is quite tall, so there's every chance he could be taller. But yeah, I think at the start of the year he was sort of using the power of his bike to win some of these races, whereas now he's got the power of the bike with him being light, and he's using every inch of the track and riding a lot better, and that's paying dividends.
And extremely professional as well, as we'll see shortly in his interview with Rachel Stringer. But another dominant victory. That's his 9th now. Johnny Garnett then into Parc Fermé. There's his dad Tom behind him. Off will come the crash helmet, and he knows now it is one hand on the title. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to wrap it up here on Sunday. It will depend on what happens to his teammate Carter Brown as well. But even if he doesn't win it here tomorrow, it's going to look extremely good for Snetterton next time out on the 300 layout there. So Johnny Garnett leads an MLAV Vision Track Academy 1-2. Carter Brown did well there with the new engine on board to fight up into 2nd place. And Reece Stevenson 2 seconds at Silverstone and a 3rd here. Rousebrook comes out of that 4-way scrap in 4th place. Crosby, Brinton and Belford all right behind him. Lucas Brown in 8th place, and that was a good battle going on further back as well, ahead of Sullivan Mounsey, McKay, Clayton Edmonds and Ryan Hitchcock. Edmonds, by the way, was cited by Alex Baldolini as one of the big improvers at the Grand Prix last weekend. Bannister, Ollie Walker and Rowan completing the points, but Ollie Walker could have been higher up had he not been forced off the track and onto the grass in the contact we had on the first lap of this race. Further back, we lost Harrison Crosby very early on, unfortunately, after that incident he had with Rousebrook at Brands Hatch. He had an incident with his other teammate, this time Correa, and down went Harrison Desoy. So Johnny Garnett is an 89-point lead. If it's 100 or more by the end of tomorrow, he is the champion here at Thruxton. Via, of course, losing out there, and Desoy remains equal because he failed to score points in that race as well. But Via is under attack for 3rd after breaking 2 bones in his foot in a crash here in qualifying. Stevenson is the threat. Stevenson just 4 points behind Via now for 3rd in this championship. Remember, it's points down to 15th place. And there are the rest of them. We've had quite a few scorers already so far this season. That's 13 races down now, 5 different winners and 12 riders on the podium so far, with 5 races remaining. I wonder whether we will see a championship decided here on Sunday.
Johnny, another congratulations. I feel like we say this every single week. Another dominant victory there in this weather as well. Track temperature up to about 45. How tough were the conditions out there?
Yeah, it was pretty wild there. Yeah, the track started getting slippy towards the end, and it didn't help when the tyres were getting worn out. But yeah, the first start of the race, Reece managed to stay with me, and he made a couple of overtakes, but luckily I managed to pull away at the end. But yeah, it's just what it is, been pole position, a win in this heat. It's good training, but I'm knackered.
I mean, it's tough conditions out here for us as well, Johnny, let alone you guys riding. We're going to talk about the points. 89 now you have. Only 2 rounds to go after your second race tomorrow. You only need now 12 more points. That means you're at 101, no one can catch you. Are you starting to think about that could happen tomorrow, you win the title?
I don't think I'm going to think about it, because every time I always thought about the championship, it never ends in the right way. So I think tomorrow I'm just going to go out there and enjoy it, and I'll just see if I win or not.
Have you got any celebrations planned, just in case?
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks to Johnny as well. He's getting very, very confident now, isn't he? And, well, you can't blame him, to be honest. That's 9 wins from 13 races so far this season. And as we said with Taylor earlier on, in practice, he was out there. His dad said he was going for imaginary lap records, and he put out a huge pit board, and it just said, calm down. And I think Johnny gave his dad a bit of a telling off for that one, because it embarrassed him in front of all of the other teams and riders down on the pit wall here. But what an amazing performance it's been. He just turns up at these venues. They know exactly what they're doing now with bike setup. And, you know, he was 1.2 seconds faster than everybody, even than the second place rider after free practice 1 on Friday morning here. The confidence he's showing is well nigh amazing. And I think another thing that really did boost his confidence with hindsight now is when he threw away the lead for that crash, if you remember, at Knock Hill. It left him in tears at the time. He was very, very hard on himself after that one, Johnny Garnes. And I think he learned a lot from that misfortune. Reece Stevenson, though, Tracy and everybody down at Rocket Racing are going to be thrilled, because that's 2 second places at Silverstone and a 3rd here. He really has got that together now, hasn't he? Carter Brown did well with the new engine to shoot up into 2nd place, and had he not run wide into the complex on that last lap, to be fair, I don't think he would have overhauled Johnny Garnes, but he would have been a lot closer to him on the run down to the club chicane to just keep the pressure on. So Carter probably a little bit frustrated with that, but it was a good ride as Alex Baldolini, the former World Supersport rider and the Talent Cup rider coach, hands out the trophies. Look how pleased Reece Stevenson is. He was getting frustrated earlier on in the season. It wasn't quite working out. Had a couple of crashes. He had 3 crashes, actually, from the first 5 races. Certainly 3 non-finishes. So to be up there now with 3 consecutive podiums is mightily impressive. Garnes, though, if he can get 11 more points than Carter Brown on Sunday, he's the 22 champion. Well, Johnny Garnes had a big advantage in the championship coming into the first of 2 races this year for the Honda British Talent Cup at Thruxton, and number 57 made an absolutely incredible start to pull away from the field. Contact further back though, Harrison Desoy goes into his teammate Julian Correa. Ollie Walker pushed wide as well. Correa certainly letting his teammate know what he thought about that, and unfortunately for Desoy, that second contact with a teammate for a 2nd consecutive race. Wasn't his fault at Browns, it looked as though it was here. Big moment for Reece Stevenson, but even so, he would finish in 3rd place, his 3rd successive podium after this spirited battle with Carter Brown, number 74. New engine on board, though, for the white bike, and he was starting to catch Johnny Garnes, but made a mistake on the final lap. Talking of mistakes, and the searing heat here, that was Evan Belford unseated. He would lose that 4th place. Matt Rousebrook came through, but Johnny Garnes wins his 9th victory from 13 races.